Doshiteru Yokoso YouTube, and welcome to yet another Let's Talk Total War. Here we are today, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about skirmishing. Skirmishing forces in Shogun Total War, Fall of the Samurai. How do you use them? How do you upgrade them? Some particular uses and some general knowledge about skirmish troops. So we're going to start out really simple here. I've got a 3v3 replay. Playing against Womble's Renator and Gozo, and I've got Prussian Prince and Achillean with me, and we're playing on the Yamasaki choke point, so this should be interesting. But this first battle really isn't going to showcase a lot. I'm just sort of going to be talking to you guys about the different type of skirmish troops and how we can upgrade them before we can actually go to application of usage. So what are skirmish troops? Well, skirmish troops are troops that have a longer range than most line infantry or most ranged sort of unit in the game. They tend to be a little bit more intensive on the micro side. So, they require you to be more alert, say, than a regular line battle where you just leave your line infantry in the mix and just let them fight. A skirmish troop requires a little bit more attention. So a Tosa Rifleman, for example, is a skirmish troop because it has 150 range, as opposed to a line infantry, which is the White Bear, which has 125 range. So that's the super basics. But what I'd like to focus about in skirmish type sort of builds, or maybe any sort of build that has a little bit of skirmish contingent to it, is that skirmishing should always be used as a complement. As a complementary force to your army. You don't want to be bringing something that is too skirmish heavy, because then you'll lack firepower. And you also don't want to only have like line infantry, like a standard White Bear mix, for example, or something like that, because then you might leave yourself susceptible to being skirmished. So having at least one unit with 150 range in your build is always a good idea. So that's in terms of how we generally think of skirmish type troops. But what are they, how do they come, or like what sort of skirmish units do we have in Fall of the Samurai? Well, we have cavalry skirmish troops, we have line skirmish troops, and we have riflemen. And here in this fight, you can see me using my Tosa Rifleman here, and I'm going to actually fail in my first attempt. And this is just to show you guys that, even when you know what you're supposed to be doing, sometimes the timings and the micro can actually sort of beat you, and you can end up failing. But you'll see here in a bit that I fail and I do bounce back. But let's talking about the sort of skirmish type troop that we have here in my battle, and they are the riflemen. Now, riflemen have usually much less men than the line infantry, so you can see the White Bear has 150, and the Tosa Rifleman will have 90. But these Tosa Riflemen will have a great reload skill, 70 reload skill and 50 accuracy, as opposed to White Bear's 60 reload skill and 45 accuracy, and this one is upgraded as well. So you can see here I'm going to sort of fail. See, I should have already pulled them back, and this is going to allow my opponent to run forward with his own Black Bear, and now they're going to open actually shots on me, and I'm going to lose a lot of men. So you don't want to be doing this, and now you'll see that I'm going to sort of adjust and begin harassing. But going back to the sort of rifle type of skirmish type infantry, we have the Tosa Riflemen, which are sort of like the top of the line in terms of their reload skill and their accuracy. They can hide while shooting in trees, so you can use them in forested areas really well to sort of piss off your opponent. And then you have sort of like the crab unit, which is the sharpshooters. No real perk to them. And then you have what I like to call the ninja riflemen, which are the Yugekitai, and we're going to say a great Yugekitai battle by Prophet Camo a little bit later. Yugekitai have Kisho training, so while they don't have the best reload and accuracy skills, you can use them to get them into like hidden positions and far flanks onto your opponent's side, and they could be very effective. And we're going to see what's really the best way to use Yugekitai. So here we go. I learned from my mistake, and I'm going to shoot and instantly fall back. And usually you want to always fall back to your line, or maybe even a unit that sort of can cover your retreat. Even sometimes the cavalry can do the job. So you can see my opponent, he's going to take some casualties, and then he's going to run back And I'm going to keep doing this to him to sort of annoy him and either get a reaction out of him or get him just a little bit tensed up. And really, that's what skirmishing really should be used for. It's to make a harder fight balanced for yourself, or to make a balanced fight a little bit easier for yourself. So for me here, I've got 4 line infantry and 1 in reserve. But my opponent has 7 line infantry in this vicinity, and some are black bears, but most are Imperial infantry, so he should be on either equal footing, if not equal footing, a little bit better than me, but this Tosa Rifleman is really going to make the difference. I'm going to keep harassing his line, and eventually he's actually going to commit to my forces prematurely, not line up his troops the way he's supposed to, and he's going to actually lose on that side of the battlefield. So how do we upgrade the Rifleman kind of skirmish troop? Well, my best advice is to always go for accuracy, because they already have high reload, as you can see. So giving them more accuracy will just make each volley count more. It's not really important how quick they reload, because you'll always be able to sort of fall back, and you'll have enough time to reload before you can push forward again. So this was sort of a very basic demonstration, just to show you, if you've never used these type of rifle troops before, what they can sort of achieve, or to what purpose they're being used. But now we're going to jump to something a little bit more interesting. This was the first battle that was submitted, or the first battle that we're going to look at that was submitted, and it was submitted to me by Prophet Camo. If only I can find the replay here. There we go, Ugikitai, and let's go. Prophet Camo, and Prophet Camo worked so hard to get this replay for me. He played countless battles, and he finally managed to get it. So a big kudos to Prophet Camo. You definitely need to go check him out in the description. He's a fellow commentator, and his commentary is quite entertaining, quite different from mine. He's a little bit more focused, a little bit more poised. But I do definitely enjoy watching his commentary, and he is a great friend of mine. So again, thank you for your replay. And today he's going to show us how to use Ugikitai really well. Now, Ugikitai, as we said, is a rifle skirmish troop. They have lower reload and accuracy skills than the Tosa Rifleman, but they do have Kisho training. And Kisho training means that Prophet Camo is going to have the ability to deploy them in 4 positions like this, and he's going to use this. They're sort of like Wako Raiders in terms of where you can position them. He's going to position them close to the archery dojo, and he's going to actually move towards the archery dojo and end up capturing it. But to understand the effect and the use of this certain unit, we're going to have to look at his army, unlike the last battle, which was just really a quick demonstration to show you that, micro it is required to use skirmish troops effectively. So Prophet Camo has 2 unupgraded Yari Ki here, and then he has a Shogun Guard Cab and a Yari Ki. He has this one unit of an Imperial Guard Infantry, Infantry de Marine, and he's called the Masaka. And then he's got White Bear Infantry, Imperial Infantry, and then finally an Imperial Guard Infantry. But if you look at his opponent's line, it is much more numerous, and in certain places a lot more elite. So in this particular incident, if Prophet Camo engages head-on with his opponent Dr. Dick, well, Dr. Dick is going to shred the line of Prophet Camo. So let's see how Camo is going to use his Ugikitai. So the first thing you can see he did is he made sure that the archery dojo is going to be his. He secured it with that Kisho training positioning. And now here in a bit, he's going to start actually working the flank. And this links back nicely to the thing I said a little bit earlier, in that in this particular situation, this is a hard battle for Camo. His opponent has artillery, has better line. So what Camo needs to do is he needs to make this hard battle a little bit more balanced for himself. He needs to create some sort of opportunity for himself to work around the weakness of his opponent. And what's the weakness of his opponent? Well, the weakness of his opponent in this particular battle is that his opponent doesn't really have any cav of his own. So not only does Camo have sort of the skirmishing advantage with his Ugikitai, he is also able to use the mobility of his cav. And let's see how he's going to use them in complements. He's going to use them in a complementary fashion, and he's going to use different sort of tools to help him make this hard battle a little bit more balanced for himself. But what is going to be the core of it all. Is going to be the Yogekitai and their 150 range. So let's see what Camo is going to do. So Dr. Dick is moving his Imperial Infantry on the right flank here to the right. 77 reload and 55 accuracy. That is scary for a line troop. And now in a minute here, this 55 reload, 55 accuracy, 150 range Yogekitai that comes around with only 90 men is going to be moving into the open. And here we go. Let's see how Camo... Oops, a little bit of lag here. Do excuse my computer, it sometimes does this. So, he's moving his troops up. And similar to how you saw in last battle, he's going to line them up here. And if you hold space down, if you didn't know, you can see the range of your units. So here we go. He's going to line his troops up.
Your general is under attack.
And he is getting hit by that Armstrong gun. And now he's just going to move them just a little bit in. Just enough range. And now he's going to open fire. There we go. And now look. From the viewpoint of these Imperial infantry, those Yogekitai that just shot at them. And now they're going to vanish behind the hill. They're gone. And now the Imperial infantry is probably being attack ordered onto this Yogekitai unit. And you can see the Dr. Dick is going to sort of let them wander up a little bit too far. And what is this Yogekitai falling back into? There is no line behind it. Well, it's falling back to 2 units of what I like to call sacrificial cav in this incident. Because they really don't have any upgrades. They're very cheap. If they can land a hit on this Imperial infantry and damage it, they're going to pay for themselves. And they do. And Prophet Camo is going to do that. And quickly look, he's going to follow up again with Yogekitai. He's going to issue an attack order here. There we go. They're going to stop. And now they're going to start shooting again. And he's going to do this on this whole flank. And now look, he brought up another line infantry unit. And again, he's using tools. He's using his tools, what he has, his advantages. Using the fact that, okay, well, he does have a weaker line, but the mobility of his cav is going to pay off for him. He throws one cav unit in there to push the general away, who also can skirmish, actually. Most generals will have 155 range sometimes. And now he's going to bring in this other cav, nice wide line, and he's going to strike right at the side of these units. So this Imperial infantry here, I don't think is going to have enough time to sort of reload. The Yogekitai still again doing his job nicely. And look, they already have 37 kills. Not a lot of kills, you know. The skirmish units aren't about getting as many kills as you can. It's about getting a reaction out of your opponent and then using some other tool in your army to assert an advantage. And Camo is doing this excellently with his Yogekitai. They're little pesky troops. And when you're being skirmished, you gotta remember that if you can chase it back and maybe shoot at it and fire at it, do it by all means. But if your opponent is sort of trying to lure you in, try to take a step back, try to not get sort of angered or, a bit pissed off at your opponent, and try to think with a clear mind. And this is not what Dr. Dick is doing. Dr. Dick is just going to push his troops forward. And, I think at this point what he's thinking is, well, I just lost my flank to this Yogekitai and these continuous cav charges. I just lost my general. I need to, make something happen. But at this stage of the fight, he should have either fallen back and brought back the rest of his units to sort of maybe have a chance. But instead, and maybe let his artillery piece run out of ammo before he engages. But at this point, you can see that he's sort of flustered. And the fact that he is flustered is going to be very evident in these mistakes that he's making. He sends his troops forward. They're going to get shot up. And Camo is basically going to walk away with this battle. He's on stand and fight. His units now have an amazing reload skill. And they are going to rain fire and hell on Dr. Dick's generalless troops. So that is the first replay that was submitted and that we were going to look at today. The use of a rifleman troop, the Yogekitai in particular. Great Kisho training placement. He captured the dojo 1. 2, he used his cav and his Yogekitai, with the Yogekitai falling back on the cav that were hidden. And then he used both of them to sort of gain an advantage on this flank. And finally, he enticed his opponent to make a move, and his opponent made the wrong move and that is why Camo is now in a very good position to sort of win the battle, which actually he does. So that, my friends, is how you use a rifleman troop or a rifle type skirmish troop in Fall of the Samurai. Well done to Prophet Camo. And now we're going to move on to the next I guess, variable in the equation, and that's going to be cavalry. Cavalry can actually be used as a skirmish force, and we're going to take a look. I think it might be this one. Let me just check here. I wrote it down. Yes, indeed, it is this one. And this was actually submitted to me by a fellow commentator, SS Pointman, or as some may know him as Reflex CSS. I think he's going now by the name of Team Reaper. But this was a great replay. And when I was looking at the troop trees and sort of thinking about the skirmish units, I was like, why do people not use Boki as much? Because Boki are actually very, very, very fast. They have 150 range, and they have a decent reload skill, so they can actually do some damage and be really, really, really pesky. And the Pointman is going to use them really well in this fight here. So here we go. He's got a sort of a melee mix army with some decent line infantry and some great line infantry on this side. So he's focusing on a few elite line troops, and then he's bringing a lot of melee component, and we'll see how he uses that. And then he's brought some Yariki and 2 Boki. Now, what are Boki? Well, Boki are bow cav, basically. The only difference is that these guys are very low in terms of their armor. They're basically light cav. 50 accuracy and 35 reload skill and 150 range. So they can skirmish Carbine Cap, they can skirmish line infantry, they can really skirmish anything. And for any sort of gun cav, you want to be thinking about moving in from dead angles. So if your opponent has a line infantry, you want to be moving in sort of like from the side to hit them. But for a Boki, well, you can do the good old back and fro motion where you can push your Boki forward, take a shot, and run back. And again, just like the last battle with Prophet Camo, where we saw a purpose to the use of his skirmish force to sort of balance out a certain factor of the equation at hand, wow, Pointman is going to do the same thing here. Well, what he needs for his build to work is his cavalry. I think this is a sort of army that relies on wave tactics. It relies on an initial cav sweep, moving in some cav, doing some damage, and then it relies on using these spear levies as meat shields, lining up his own men to fire at the enemy as they're busy firing at the spear levies, and following up with a Katanakachi wave that really just wraps things up. And to do this, he needs to make sure that his opponent doesn't have any cavalry anywhere. And this is what the aim of his skirmish component is going to be. This is a really nice build, and hopefully we'll get to talk about it in future sort of discussions about using melee as a part of your army. So here he is, his Boki now going forward. His opponent, who is Crimson Tide, is going to anticipate this. He has a Tosa Rifleman of his own. He's going to put them in loose formation. This volley is actually going to do no damage whatsoever. So again, not very lethal, these troops, but they are they're pestering now Crimson Tide. They look like an easy target, and he's like, why not? I can take them. And now here you'll see that they're actually, the Yariki are not faster than Boki. And this is why I say, Yariki needs speed, because you need to catch other cav quicker. If these Yariki are a little bit faster, they would be able to catch this Boki with no problems. Even if it was like a Carbine Cap or something like that, they'd be able to catch it quicker. So Cav obviously needs speed, but here we go. Pointman is going to keep doing waves of going forward, taking a shot, and running back. And he's just going to continue doing this. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to lure out these 2 units of Cav into his more heavily upgraded Yariki here. And if he can get a clean charge on at least one of those units, he should be able to surround and wrap them up nicely. And let's see if he succeeds at doing this with his Boki. So again, the Cav of his opponent sort of went into the forest. And here he comes again, and he's going to now start sniping this Tosa Rifleman. 2 casualties, 3 casualties, again, not very deadly. Maybe a little bit of a reaction here, but you can see any other cav unit would have probably, a heavier cav unit would have probably been caught right at this stage. But Boki are very quick, and I bet at this stage, Pointman is spam right-clicking over here, trying to get away. And this is just, the bugginess, I'd say, of the Total War games. That if a unit gets caught a little bit, the others sort of slow down. And that shouldn't really be the case. If you're giving them a move command, they should be getting out of there. But now look at this. This Boki is still in the fight, and now look at this beautiful, clean charge. Very wide surface into a very narrow surface. He's going to be getting a lot of damage on that. Now he's moving his cav around here, and he's going to hit the rear of these troops. There he goes. And a beautiful surround here, and he's going to end up wrapping up that cav. And what did this do for him? Well, he avoided the Tosa Rifleman. He drew out his opponent's Yariki far away enough that the opponent's Tosa troops and his own skirmish troops, the opponent's skirmish troops couldn't really do any damage. And he secured the cav advantage on this flank. And at the same time, right after that finishes, he's going to follow up with a charge into this idle Yariki that's not doing anything. Opponent probably didn't see it. And now he's going to start moving his troops forward. So, again, great use of this sort of ideology that, okay, well, I'm not using my skirmish troops to really be causing casualties. I'm using them as a pestering force. I'm using them as a complementary part of my general plan, which in this case is, okay, I want to remove the cav. I want to make sure that there are no cav on the field so I can use my waves of attack as easily and as smoothly as I can, because if the enemy had cav right now, they'd be easily able to swing around and disturb this sort of a wave-like property of this certain build that Pointman has here today. So here he goes. He's trying to move his troops around the forest, but I think at this stage he's going to end up committing. And now look what happens. See, these guys are shooting where? At the Katanakachi. This unit is now going to be firing at these troops, and now once they reload, the AI is gonna target the closest unit, which is the Katanakachi, not the line troops. And by the time the Katanakachi actually hits that line, these guys had probably shot a couple of volleys at least into the enemy forces. So there they go. They're gonna collide. They're being suppressed, and now he's going to charge in his Bushido general, just to make sure that he wins in the center. He's swinging in his troops around the side, and he's going to actually end up cleaning up this army of Crimson Tide really well. So what did we see here? Well, we saw the use of Boki, which is very rare, and I really do want to see more of them. But for Boki in particular, try to give them more speed and try to give them more accuracy, because they already have more reload, because they already have decent accuracy. But for other types of cav, which unfortunately we didn't get to see, or we're not going to see in this Let's Talk episode, because I didn't get that many replays, and I'm thinking that it's because it's a little bit of a hard topic today, just because, again, it requires a lot of micro. But before we move on to the final component, which is using a line infantry to skirmish, which is, I think, very interesting, we're going to talk a bit about how you upgrade your other sort of skirmish cap. You've got revolver cav and carbine cap, and then you've got the Imperial Guard cavalry. Well, in general, your revolver cav are, in my opinion, very, very micro-intensive units. They have very low range. I think it's like 70. They have low accuracy and low reload, but they're very quick. So they're, again, units that can be used to sort of pester your opponents. I have yet to see them being used in an effective manner on any online battle that I have played, or in any replay whatsoever. That doesn't mean that they're useless, but it just seems that the metagame is sort of shying away from them. Just because to make them work, you have to use them in such a micro-intensive fashion that I don't think anyone thinks it's worth it, and I probably agree with that opinion. Next up is the Carbine Cap. Carbine Cap is sort of a step up. They're like dragoons, basically. Not very fast. Don't let them get caught by Yariki. Obviously, you want to give them accuracy or reload, really. It really depends on personal preference with these skirmish type units, because the whole point As I said, isn't about getting as many casualties as you can. If you can get as many casualties, obviously it's a good thing. But usually when you skirmish with something, you're trying to get to a purpose, and the purpose is to just pester your opponent and have sort of a thought in their head that, oh wait, I'm getting attacked somewhere. I need to react. I need to hit. I need to. Even if they lose, even if they're like losing 2 to 3 men per volley, they're gonna feel a toll mentally. And that's going to hinder their ability to play the game, and they're going to make mistakes. And we've seen this happen twice, 3 times actually today. In my battle, in Prophet Camo's battle, and in Pointman's battle. And finally, you've got the Imperial Guard Cavalry, which is sort of like a mix between Saber Cav and Carbine Cav. They do great against line infantry troops. If you shoot and then charge in, they have great attack, but again, don't let them get caught by Yariki. So let's move on now to the final replay of the day, and this also was submitted to me by none other than Pointman Reflex CSS, and we're going to take a look at using your line infantry to skirmish with your opponent. And some may ask, well, GD, how are you going to use line infantry to skirmish with other line infantry? Well, it's range upgrades. Usually Marines will have range upgrades, and there's a big difference really between using cav, rifles, and line. When you use a rifle unit, you have 150 range. Mostly, you will have a range advantage. You have less numbers, you're less devastating, and what you do is you attack and you pull back. The same thing goes for Cav, but the Cav doesn't have 150 range in most incidents. They'll have 125 range, but they have their mobility and their quickness, so they can move in, take a shot from a dead angle, and run back without being caught. Finally, the line infantry, using these Marines to skirmish, is a whole different sort of concept, and it's the idea that the fact that they have 150 range, well, that means that you can use them to take the first volley, and because they're line infantry and they have so many men per unit, you can leave them there. You can leave them in and wait for your opponent to come forward and take his own volley, and you're pretty much going to be certain to win. So in this battle, Team Reaper, wow, I almost called him TM Ripper, the Pointman or TM Reaper or Reflex CSS or whatever the hell you want to call him, the guy with the ski mask is a common name for me at least. He has a strong line component, a very wide line component, nicely sort of meshing with the whole idea of a flat map that Ricefields is. He has some cavalry, and then on each flank he has a Marine. He has a United States Marines there and an Infantry du Marine on that side, I believe. Indeed, he does. His opponent, Agony Psychic, has a decent line force. He has some spears here. Looks like he was afraid of the sort of Prussian Prince-esque style of cavalry charge right down the middle. He has a Tosa Rifleman in the middle, which he obviously has brought to sort of use in a sort of skirmishing manner. And we're going to pause here. Both artillery pieces are exchanging shots, but from Pointman's perspective, he knows that he needs to take the initiative, because if he doesn't take the initiative, this Tosa Rifleman is going to give him trouble towards the center of his army, where he has a bunch of 125 range troops. He doesn't want his flanks to be too busy at the center or too focused at the center, because then Psychic's own flank is going to be able to surround and flank him. So from Pointman's perspective, he needs to take initiative, and the fact that he has the line quote-unquote skirmish troop, basically the Marines with 150 range, is going to allow him to do just that. He's going to push on one flank. Notice he's not overcommitting on both flanks or anything. He's going to focus at one flank, and he's going to try to entice some sort of action here by Psychic. And Psychic is from Agony, and Agony are a very competitive Shogun clan, a Total War clan. So let's see how Psychic reacts here. He's going to get shot up, and look at those Marines shredding that Black Bear infantry down to about 2/3 strength. And quickly Psychic now is trying to rearrange his flank to sort of absorb this. What is Pointman going to do? Well, he's going to do what a skirmish unit does. He's going to press forward once the opportunity arises. But now look at this. Psychic, he's experienced. He knows what Pointman is trying to do. He's going to run forward himself. stop almost at the same time and actually get the first volley off. So again, two very skilled players here. They understand the metagame, they understand the usages, but the fact that this is a Marine unit, and the fact that this unit did fire first, is going to give them the advantage. Here comes a psychic attack. It's a psychic attack by Alakazam, guys. But here comes a cavalry charge by a psychic, going to be countered nicely by Pointman. And what did he do? Well, he basically destroyed two units on the flank with the use of a Black Bear and with the use of a nicely upgraded United States Marines. And now he's going to deal with this cavalry charge again. So he is making sure that the flank fight is his. So now at this stage, remember how I told you before that when people are, like, when you think about the sort of the bigger picture, Psychic didn't really lose too much. Yeah, he lost the Cav unit, but he also hurt this Marine a lot. He removed a big part of Pointman's cavalry on this side. He hurt the Marine. He lost a Black Bear and another Black Bear, so he didn't really lose much. But now his mental state is, wow, I'm losing on that flank. I need to push somewhere in order to gain an advantage. And notice how by using his own skirmish troops and taking the initiative, Pointman is taking away the fact that Psychic has a Tosa Rifleman. He's taking away Psychic's own skirmishing capabilities by keeping him busy on one flank. And again, this is the signs of a great player. So here we go. He's going to be taking shots into these routing units. And in a minute here, Psychic is going to, I think, start moving forward in an attempt to sort of win a fight. And what would be the good reaction from Pointman to do in such a place? You can see that a lot of his line troops are sort of out of position. So when an attack does come, which it will now, the moment Pointman sees this, he's going to unload with one flank his 150 range units. And he's gonna, without doubt, fall back. And this is, again, great decision making. Why is he doing this? He's doing this because he wants to use this sort of flanking force that he's created. He wants to use the fact that he has more range on this unit. And he wants to get them in a better position because he did win the flank. There's no reason why he shouldn't be in a perfect position before the engagement happens. So he's going to fall back. And in the middle, this is going to allow his flank to get in a better position, as you see here. On the right flank, that's going to allow his Marines to hopefully get another early shot before Psychic's troops. So here we go. Psychic sending in the meat shields. There you go, the spear levies. And again, see? Those Marines fire always before the other Marines who are actually sitting at 125 range. And that's what a Marine skirmish unit or a line skirmish unit does for you. And again, another Cav engagement here to sort of show you that you really just need to cancel out your opponent's Cav and then use line infantry to support. But in this incident, again, you saw that Pointman wasn't sort of overcommitting his unit. He wasn't over-microing his line infantry. And just because they're line infantry, he can do that. That's fine. If he was doing this kind of thing with a Tosa Rifleman, I'd assure you the Tosa Rifleman would be so dead so quickly, because when a Tosa Rifleman uses 40 men at a time in a volley, that's half their strength gone. When an infantry to marine loses 40 men, they still have about 2/3 of their men left. So there's a huge difference in how you use these units. And the fact that Pointman uses them here mixed in with some excellent decision making and some nice reactive use of his cavalry to cancel out his opponent's cav really solidifies the point I'm trying to drive through with any sort of skirmish component or any sort of range advantage that you have on your opponent while playing Fall of the Samurai. You want to use it in a complementary fashion with your army. You want to make tensor situations easier, and you want to make easy situations even easier than they currently are. And when you do that, you will be able to sweep very, very skilled players. Just like you saw here, this is a very high level battle between Pointman and Agony Psychic. And that is all I have for you for this week's episode of Let's Talk Total War Skirmish. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Just a little bit of comments. We didn't get too many replays last week. And again, I think the topic is quite tough, skirmishing, but I'm very happy with the replays sent in. Please do check out Prophet Camo and Reflex CSS in the description below. I did get some replays from the Prussian Prince, and I also got a couple of other replays, but unfortunately they didn't have sort of a moral lesson to them, at least. Not in my opinion. They were great games nonetheless. But that is all for this episode. Remember to check with the channel. I will probably post a video tomorrow or the day after tomorrow describing what next week's topic is going to be. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Let's Talk Total War. Thanks for all your submissions. Comment, thumbs up, and subscribe if you think this video sort of deserved that. I hope you guys now have a better understanding of using skirmish troops, upgrading your skirmish troops, and sort of using that complementary idea of bringing different tools in your build, thinking of them as separate parts that play together to create a much powerful whole. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'm Judy, and I'll see you next time.